So day 4 began in Honningsvåg, and my plan was to ride along the north coast of Norway through the city of Alta and ending up in a place called Birtavarre in a fjord where I would spend the night in a tent. When I took off from Honningsvåg, it was a rainy and pretty cold morning, well below plus 10 degrees Celsius. And I didn't ride for long when I had to stop and put on some more clothes. But luckily the weather changed for the better, and after 2 hours or so the sun started shining, and the rest of the day I rode in excellent weather. Now when I was eating my breakfast at my hotel in Honningsvåg, there was a pleasant and surprising encounter. Now I was sitting at my table eating my breakfast when I suddenly heard a male voice speaking Finnish next to me, apologizing for the interruption, and then he asked me if the Benelli TRK bike outside the hotel is mine, and I told him that yes it was, and I looked up and I saw that it was Kari Tiainen. Now when it comes to motorcycles, Kari is something of a legend. He is the Enduro world champion 7 times over, and I remember as a teenager that I was really proud of Kari Tiainen and that he was so good at his sport. He had heard about the TRK bike and a lot of good about it, and he wanted to hear my thoughts on this bike. I even told him he could take it for a test drive if he wanted, but he had to politely decline because he was working. He was in charge of a group of tourists on a motorcycle safari from Kittilä to Nordkapp, so he really couldn't leave them. But it was a pleasant surprise to meet someone like Kari, and he was a really nice guy. So what can I say about my ride from Honningsvåg to Birtavarre? Amazing scenery, just breathtaking. Mountains, fjords, the sea, plateaus high up in the mountains, twisty roads going on for like forever, small villages. I really loved it. pretty heavy winds, but otherwise no issues. A lot of motorcycles, a lot of them. I must have waved my hand at 200 plus motorcycles on my way to Birtavarre, and at some point I was quite nervous about traveling on a trip like this alone on a motorcycle, but this really calmed me down, because I knew that if I had any form of technical problems or otherwise, I just pull over and put my helmet on the ground and wait, and I think that I wouldn't have to wait for very many minutes, and I would have bikers stopping to ask if they could help. I did that to another biker on the road later in the trip in Sweden, and this is something that I really love about riding bikes, the camaraderie between bikers, and that you'll always get help if you need it. Now when I planned this trip, I decided that I wanted to stay one night in a tent, and that it would be the night in Birtavarre, the fourth night, and thus I had to take all necessary equipment with me on this trip, sleeping bag, tent, and so on. They took up a lot of space on my bike, but it was a good choice. I really liked it. Now, when I came to Birtavarre, I had made reservations to a camping area called Birtavarre Base Camp, not far away from the Gorsebrua Canyon, the deepest canyon in Northern Europe. And well, the camping site had lost my reservation, even though I had a screenshot of it, but no issues. There was no rush on this particular camping area. It was pretty old and dated, but it had everything I needed and really friendly customer service, so just fine. And there two Swiss bikers joined me soon after I had arrived, so we put up our tents next to each other and had something of a motorcycle base camp. Now, as Birtavarre is in a fjord between two mountains. The heavy winds that I've encountered all day, they grew even heavier. I woke up in the middle of the night because of the heavy winds and thought to myself, is this tent gonna take off flying? But I'm pretty pleased with the tent I bought last winter. I made a lot of research that I would get a good tent for a reasonable price, and I'm really happy with the one I got. The temperature dropped to +5 degrees Celsius during the night, but with good tent and good sleeping bag, I had no issues, and it was really quite fun. Now, as this is part 4 of an 8-part series of videos, I would like to thank you for watching, and if you have the time, I would really love some feedback, as I'm quite a beginner making videos, not only riding motorcycles but also making videos. So if you would leave a thumbs up or thumbs down or a comment, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Stay safe and see you in the next video.